So you, in this Trump era, cannot believe what you watch on national television. From the Oval Office comes Kanye West. He's an entertainer. A lot of people have made him, I don't know, they say he's worth $600–700 million. I don't know if that's true. Probably is. I've never bought anything he's selling. But we have a problem. We have a president of the United States that probably doesn't know what the 13th Amendment is. Did you hear me be nice? Probably doesn't know. Now, we know he knows what the Second Amendment is. And by the way, the Second Amendment's the shortest and the easiest amendment. I know that one upside down. But the 13th Amendment is very important to me, being an African American. It freed the slaves. Mr. Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation, and then in 4 or 5 border states, technically, black people were freed. Now, you have to be free, and then you have to be free, so those are complicated issues. Then Mr. Lincoln passed an amendment. It was tougher than anything probably in the history of America. He gave away a lot of post office to get that amendment done, and the states ratified it in December of 1865. Of course, Mr. Lincoln had been laying in his grave for 6 months, assassinated for the 13th Amendment and for saving the nation. Assassinated to get the 13th Amendment through, ending slavery. It is a dynamic piece of history. And there are, I checked, about 13,000 major articles and books written on the 13th Amendment. And Kanye West could read one of them. He could go to, he could read children's books. There are 36 children's books on the 13th Amendment, and the president could too. And so Mr. West wouldn't get on television from the Oval Office and say the most ridiculous, stupid, backwards, insensitive, hateful things that you could imagine. Skyscrapers don't have 13 floors, and so we shouldn't have a 13th Amendment. I don't know what math class he went to, but almost all buildings taller than 14 stories have a 13th floor, whether they call it that or not. I have believed for a very long time, and this is against some of the liberal Hollywood types as well, people who are not grounded in a science or grounded in historical background or grounded in education should be careful about being so public. I don't mind them having opinions, but I do mind them being the expert. So he's not an expert on the 13th Amendment, and he shouldn't insult every black person and every white person in this country who cares about constitutional rights or about advancement of people of color. Now, the other day, I, on the streets, talked to a public official, and I'm going to be nice. Ever since my 50th birthday, I've tried unsuccessfully to quit getting in fights with powerful public figures. It just happens. You know, I'm a child advocate. I advocate for the children, and they call me names for doing it. Hey, that comes with the territory. Well, the other day, a public official, I'll leave it at that, said to me that the mayor should not be blamed for the fact that Latino children receive the 350th worst education in America, because they were at 349 when he came to office, and slipping to 350 is nothing. It's just a natural transgression of what bad happens to Latino children in Providence. And so I'm a bad person for blaming the mayor for being the mayor for 4 years while they are receiving this horrible education. Horrible. And I should be nice, and he's not to blame because 3 years ago this happened, and it's continuing to happen. And I just stood there in a state of shock. And then I finally said to this public official, if it had gone from 350 to 346, I give the mayor some credit for going in the right direction. But it isn't. And you can't praise anybody because they didn't create the problem. They're only continuing it. Think deeply about how you're going to vote in 2 weeks. And thank you for your ear. By the way, I know something about the 13th Amendment. And it's one of the greatest amendments in the country.